So, hello, welcome to LeisureNet's Data Insight and Action. We realize that we create an awful lot of insight and data, and we share that obviously with our clients that buy it from us or action us to deliver against it. But the most important bit was then starting to think about, okay, what do we do with all of this data and insight? How can we create some actions? So we're going to be producing these little conversations on a regular basis, as I said, the first Monday of every month. And Julie, you're going to talk to us today about the consumer panel and some insight we've taken from that.
Yeah, thank you, David. I am. So the Consumer Insight Panel is a service that we launched earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And we are gathering some really incredible intelligence around user and non-user behaviour. So we're really keen to take this data and share it with the industry on a much wider level to really support operators at the moment, understand certain barriers to exercise, for instance, encouragement factors. One of the areas we'll be exploring today is actually around a desire to be more active. So that's where we'll focus our efforts today.
Okay, brilliant. So talk to me about the consumer panel. How does it work? How do you get your information?
Yeah, it's a great question, David. So we have access to 62,000 respondents within the UK, and we're able to gather data. We put it out to a panel, like I say, of 62,000. And from this, we can ask a number of questions. Now, we can go for a national representative of 500, or we can typically, for most operators where we're looking geographically, have a survey sample size of 200, which is, of course, statistically significant to then really take the data and make some decisions from it.
Okay, and are these panelists, are they users of sports and fitness, or are they non-users? Is it a combination?
It's a combination, David. We can access both.
Okay, excellent. So actually then that access to non-users is really important. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so talk to us today. What nuggets are you going to share with us today, Julie?
So like I say, today we're going to talk around the desire to be more active. And we've got a really strong picture emerging from the surveys that we're currently conducting. And what we're seeing, and we saw this in our latest survey, that actually a staggering 8 out of 10 people asked, and that includes active and those that consider themselves to be inactive, they would like to be exercising more than they currently are. So, of course, great information, but what are we going to do with this? How do we then, take that desire and put it into action quite literally? So today we're just going to share some top tips on how those that have this desire can become more active. Before I go on to that, though, I want to just share a bit more information with you guys. So we found through our latest survey that over 70% of inactive people, so those that don't exercise at all, have this desire to be active. So we really need to look at our marketing messages, how we approach this group to engage with them and bring them into our facilities. The other thing is that across male and female, we saw that over 70% across all age groups had a desire to be more active. And in fact, 100% of women aged 55 and over had a really strong desire to be more active. So there's clearly a need to drive participation and signpost people to activities that they enjoy.
Absolutely. And I think the real interesting challenge there is understanding the priorities and the realities that get in the way of people getting regular activity. And I'm sure we will provide that type of data going forward in the future. So top tips, I'm always interested. Let's think about it.
Here we go. So let's face it, when we talk about a gym environment, it can be very intimidating for a lot of people. It can be quite a hostile environment. And I'm talking about those people today who are struggling with a routine, who are perhaps gym hoppers, have tried, have left, it hasn't worked out for them. We have those core members that get it, they train regularly. So I want us to think wider. Let's think about creating that fun, engaging atmosphere, a place that people want to be a part of. And there's many ways to achieve this. And one of the ways that, I've certainly had success with in the past from my operational days are simple things, David, like a gym challenge, but not necessarily, who can hold the plank for the longest, who can lift the heaviest, because you're going to exclude a lot of members. I'll put my hand up. I wouldn't be putting myself in for that kind of thing. But a challenge that we ran back when I was in operations, and it was the most successful challenge we ever did, was the chocolate challenge, so very, very simple. And it was great because front of house could get involved with this as well. So it really created conversation and bringing departments together. But a member would simply come through to the gym and they would be offered a chocolate bar, which is not exactly why you're going to go and eat chocolate. I'm going there to work it off. And there would be a variety of chocolate bars that you could choose. And the point was you would take your curly whirly, and you'd go off and you'd burn the calories or you'd do something. And honestly, David, we had people coming in saying, get me the Yorkie bar. I want to do the Yorkie bar. And it created conversation. You could then get your gym team involved and give them targets on, right, whoever gets the most person involved in this challenge, they get some recognition. So simple things like that can really create a very fun, informal atmosphere. And let's face it, we've been seeing again on our news that, gym intimidation is a real problem. So if we can do things like this, it might just counteract that.
I think it's really interesting. I, of course, love all those competitions about lifting the biggest weight or rowing the longest distance because I always win them, of course. But I think it's, if those of us with kids will have seen how schools have really started to interact with kids around effort, around improvements over the last time. And, certainly hockey coaching that I deliver for children, we're never competing with somebody else. We're competing with what we achieved last week, whether that's a run time or a blaze pod activity or whatever it happens to be. So, yeah, I really like that idea. And, of course, using activity outside of the gym space as well, because many of those 55-year-old ladies that you were talking about earlier actually probably won't make the first step into a gym first. They'd want to try something else. So what else have you got on your tips?
So top tip number 2, make time to move. Something that we all need to do. But again, if we can understand our members' barriers, what are their obstacles, what is their day looking like? How can we make sure that our offering, both in person and if we have a digital solution, an online training platform, that we can offer this to our members so that if they can't come into the gym or they can't swim or they can't get to their class, they have a resource in place that they can utilize to ensure that they're maintaining their activity levels or at best increasing them. So that's my top tip number 2.
Yeah, and I think having a little bit of flexibility in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I woke up this morning, there was frost on the floor. There was no way I was going on my bike. So got some work done, waited for the sun to come out and got out this morning in the sunshine. It was lovely. So yeah, it's about having that ability to be a little bit flexible as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and that actually ties in really nicely to the third tip here. So, from an operator's perspective, getting to know your member, understanding when are they intending to train, what does their day look like? And of course, the only way you can do this, David, as you and I very well know, is getting out and talking with our members, having meaningful conversations, because then you'll get to know things like, well, I like to go out cycling in the morning. Right, we know a barrier is going to be the frost. So let's have that conversation about, well, don't forget, schedule time in your day to make sure you go out for your ride a bit later when the sun's up and everything's glorious. It could be, as it was in my case last week, it was half term. I can't get in and train if I haven't got something for the children. So that's going to be my barrier. So again, if a coach has said to me, Jules, look, I know you're not going to be able to get in next week, so why don't you do this whilst you're at home? That's really, really important to me. So again, get to know your members, understand their obstacles, understand their life. I mean, how often do we hear, well, life gets in the way? It shouldn't do. This should be a part of life. So my 3 top tips to help really drive those activity levels.
Brilliant. Okay, so our plan of action is we're going to do one of these every month. It'll be the first Monday of every month, and we're going to go through different bits of data that we've got and the insight that is created as a result, with some action, some opportunities for people to have a think about. So how can people get hold of this? Where can we share this information, please?
Well, you'll be finding us all over our socials. Of course, you can get in touch via email. For more information, you've got our website, but get in touch. If there's anything that you'd like us to explore and share with you further, drop me an email or pop a message on socials and we'll build them into our schedule.
Excellent. I look forward to the next one. Julie, thanks for your time. Take care. We'll catch up soon.
David. Take care.
Bye-bye.